WRHU.
Radio Hofstra University.
For 88.7 FM WRHU, I'm Max Echoes. We continue our Alum of the Week series, this week joined by Spring 16 graduate Anthony Santaniello. Anthony, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Max.
So first question here, just a basic one so our listeners can get to know you a bit more. Could you take us through what you did with your time at RHU and now what you do in your professional career as well?
So at RHU, kind of did a little bit of everything, focused on play-by-play and color commentary. Was the lead play-by-play for men's lacrosse my senior year. Did a few games junior year with a couple of the older guys being the lead play-by-play. Got into men's basketball play-by-play my senior year. Did women's basketball my junior year, I believe. And then you'd sprinkle in a little baseball here and there, some soccer in the fall. So I was trying to do as many sports as I could while I was there to really help my resume and, make a good reel out of it. And it's transitioned now into a social media job, actually, with WWE. I'm a social media producer, which means covering shows every week, 2 to 3 times a week, taking photos, videos of the show happening on TV, posting content to Instagram, and then continuing the storyline basically throughout the week on social media. So it's a little bit of everything in communications with like a little bit of PR sprinkled in there too. So it's good that I got a degree in communications and not specifically journalism.
I definitely agree with you on that one there. But now, a bit more about you now so we can get an idea. You're one of our more recent graduates from the last 5 years. What made you come to Hofstra, but then also make that jump to RHU as well? Because a lot of people might come to Hofstra, but maybe not go to radio right away.
So my journey to Hofstra was really interesting. So I had no idea about Hofstra going into my junior year of high school. And I ran into Mike Leslie at a Joseph A. Bank store, who was a graduate. I believe he had just graduated at the time that I met him. So it was probably a year after he graduated. He was working at the Springfield ABC affiliate at the time in Massachusetts. And my dad recognized him, talked to him for about a half hour, and he was just asking all about like where he went to school, because I wanted to get into that field, obviously. And he ended up saying, yeah, I mean, if you want to use my name at Hofstra, like a lot of people there know me, so just tell them, like, just go give it a visit. And visited, I think, in March of my junior year of high school, and my parents loved it. I loved it. But I actually was more interested in Heat when I went on my tour, because they showed the whole studio and explained that they do a lot of TV shows at the time. So I was very interested in that. And then I didn't really learn about RHU until I got to campus, and I saw the clubs fair and thought that radio could be interesting because they covered sports too. So I signed up, took the test in the training class and passed, and I didn't even end up doing Heat. So it was all RHU the entire time I was there.
So definitely a fun story. Give you that one. Definitely adds to your character here with your stories as well. But now you work in social media and you work with the WWE, which is, in my eyes, really cool, because I've liked both growing up, and now I'm obviously a social media guy for sports. What would you say are maybe the 2 or 3 biggest skills RHU taught you that you took over into your career when you made the jump?
So the number one biggest one, I would say, and it ties into working with the Islanders so much, is not being afraid to, talk to big time athletes and big time personalities. We had people like John Tavares in our faces pretty much every week when we were reporting. So you get used to talking to people like that, and then that transitions to now I'm talking to people like John Cena or like The Undertaker on occasion. And you don't have those nerves that you would if you didn't have that experience. I guess another thing is kind of just learning how to editorialize in a proper way with social media. So making sure the right caption gets on something, making sure you're taking the right viewpoint on a certain picture or video. Because with us, we're depending on people watching the show, obviously, but if you miss the show, we want you to be kept up through our pictures and videos. So it's up to us to properly portray the right angle, the right expression on people's faces, and stuff like that. So I think just, editorializing it, making sure it's the right thing, that looks the right way, and keeping everything positive, I would say, is a big thing.
I like him. I think that's two pieces of just skills we haven't heard yet, too. So congrats to that one. Gave us something new now for the show. But the big final question now, and it's always interesting to hear this, especially from somebody who's in your position now. What is the best piece of advice you have for somebody who's just getting into the sports department at RHU or still trying to find their footing? Maybe they've been here for a year. Your best piece of advice you got so they can just have an impact right away or start to grow themselves as just a personality within our sports department?
I have, that's good. I would say, so there's a quote that I have, and then there's a piece of advice. The piece of advice would be, there's no 100% right path to get to anywhere. Everyone can take a different path to get to where they want to be. I wasn't coming into my class, the top play-by-play person, but I worked hard for it, did pretty much everything, and I got to be a play-by-play person by the end of it. And it was, trying everything out, doing every little bit you can, hanging around the radio station, getting in people's faces as much as possible. And the piece of advice is, Jared Greenberg said this to us, I think, my freshman year, and it really stuck with me, is that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I'm sure he's told this to you guys at some point, but it really makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because if you're just waiting on something to break your way, it's probably not going to break your way. But if you're prepared for every single situation and you're just waiting for that single second for it to happen, you're much more likely to get what you're looking for.
I think that's the perfect note to end on right there. Once again, everyone, our alum of the week, Anthony, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Max.